Saturn looks like it's wearing a crown, but scientists still don't fully know how that crown was born. For centuries, people saw only a solid golden halo around this planet. Then astronomers looked closer, and the crown fell apart into countless pieces. Saturn's rings are not solid at all. They are trillions of small chunks of ice and rock, each one orbiting the planet like a tiny moon. Some pieces are as small as a grain of sand. Others are as large as a house, tumbling silently through space. Here is the real mystery. Scientists still argue about exactly when these rings formed, and that answer changes everything we thought we knew. For decades, most researchers believed the rings were ancient, almost as old as Saturn itself. That would make them over 4 billion years old, formed alongside the planet. Then NASA's Cassini spacecraft arrived at Saturn in 2004. It spent 13 years circling the planet, gathering data no one had ever collected before. Cassini flew through the gap between Saturn and its rings. It measured their mass with incredible precision. The results shocked scientists. The rings weighed far less than expected, and lighter rings usually mean younger rings. Based on this mass, many researchers now estimate the rings could be just 10 to 100 million years old. That is stunningly young compared to Saturn's 4.5 billion year lifetime. If that estimate is correct, dinosaurs may have walked the Earth before Saturn ever had rings. The planet spent most of its history completely bare. So where did these rings suddenly come from? Scientists point to a violent culprit hiding in Saturn's past. One leading idea involves a shattered moon. A small icy moon may have wandered too close to Saturn and been torn apart by its gravity. This tearing process has a name, the Roche limit. It is the invisible boundary where a planet's gravity becomes stronger than an object's own structural strength. Cross that line, and gravity wins. The moon stretches, cracks, and eventually shatters into countless icy fragments. Those fragments could not escape Saturn's pull. Instead, they spread out into the thin, flat disk we now call the rings. Another possibility involves two icy moons colliding directly. A catastrophic impact could have produced the same debris field almost instantly. Either scenario paints a dramatic picture. Saturn's beautiful rings may be the wreckage of a destroyed world. But not every scientist agrees the rings are young. Some newer studies suggest the rings might still be ancient after all. These researchers argue that the rings could be self-cleaning. Micrometeorite pollution might be constantly vaporized and lost, keeping the ice looking artificially bright and young. This means the age of Saturn's rings remains a genuine, unresolved scientific debate. There is no final consensus yet among astronomers. While their age stays uncertain, another discovery adds new urgency. The rings are not just sitting there quietly. Cassini detected something unexpected: ring rain. Icy particles are constantly falling from the rings into Saturn's atmosphere. This material streams down along Saturn's magnetic field lines. It rains into the planet at thousands of kilograms per second. At this rate, scientists calculate the rings are slowly disappearing. Estimates suggest they could vanish within the next few 100 million years. Think about that for a moment. Saturn may only wear its crown for a small fraction of its total lifetime. This means the rings are not a permanent feature of the solar system. We may simply be lucky enough to witness them while they still exist. Every image we have ever taken of Saturn's rings captures something temporary. Future generations of any observer would see a very different planet. This changes how we should think about planetary rings entirely. They may be common phases, not permanent structures. Other planets like Jupiter, Uranus, and Neptune also have rings. But none compare to Saturn's rings in size, brightness, or complexity. Studying why Saturn's rings are so dramatic helps scientists understand ring systems throughout the universe. It reveals how gravity, ice, and destruction can create beauty from chaos. It also helps us understand Earth's own distant past. Some scientists believe our moon formed from a similar giant impact billions of years ago. In that story, a Mars-sized object struck the early Earth. The debris eventually gathered together and became the moon we see today. Saturn's rings might be showing us a smaller, ongoing version of that same violent process. Destruction and creation happening in real time. So the crown around Saturn tells two stories at once. One story of possible violent birth and one of slow, quiet death. Both stories remind us that even massive, ancient-looking objects in space can be temporary. Nothing in the universe stays the same forever. Scientists continue gathering evidence to solve this puzzle completely. Future missions may finally reveal exactly how old these rings really are. Until then, one question remains unanswered. If Saturn's rings are truly disappearing, what will future generations see when they look up at this planet centuries from now?